All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the November 2nd virtual City Council meeting for the City of North College Hill. We will start, as always, with our prayer for NCH City Council. God, our Father, we are all your servants. We trust in your mercy and love. We trust also in your guidance. Direct the meetings of this Council of North College Hill to make good decisions for all the people who live in our city. Give all the members of this council wisdom and insight to know what is best for our city. Help us to be fair and just in all our decisions. Bless us all to do the very best we can with your help and guidance. We pray this in your name. Amen. Call this meeting to order. I will now share my screen for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, good evening, everyone. Ms. Dewald, will you please call the roll?
Miss Bailey. You said she was absent.
Yes.
Miss Blythe. Is it Blythe or Blythe?
Blythe.
Blythe. Miss Blythe.
Present.
Miss Underwood.
Present.
Mr. Miller Novak.
Present.
Miss Zorb.
Present.
Miss Hartman.
Here.
And Miss Anderson.
Here.
We have one person absent, 6 present.
Thank you. So Ms. Bailey did contact me today and says she was unable to make it tonight.
President,
Ms. Zorb?
I'd like to make a motion to excuse Ms. Bailey from tonight's meeting.
Mr. President, I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Motion on the floor for Ms. Zorb to excuse Ms. Bailey tonight from tonight's meeting with a second by Ms. Anderson. Please call the roll.
Miss Blythe.
Yes.
Miss Underwood.
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak.
Yep.
Miss Zorb.
Yes.
Miss Hartman.
Yes.
Miss Anderson.
Yes.
Motion to excuse Miss Bailey passes 6-0.
Thank you very much. You should have tonight's agenda in front of you. And we do need to make an addition to it.
Mr. President,
Yes, Ms. Underwood.
I would like to make a motion that I move that we amend the agenda to include an opportunity for us to have an executive session to discuss an employee salary.
Mr. President, I second that motion.
All right, we have a motion on the floor from Ms. Underwood. The second from Ms. Anderson to amend the agenda tonight to add an executive session to discuss a specific employee salary. I believe we can use the same language we used at our council of the whole meeting for that executive session. It's the same thing. Do you have that link yet, Ms. Zorb? You do? All right. So where would you like to add that, Ms. Underwood?
Perhaps after call of members.
Okay.
Mr. President.
Mr. Miller Novak?
I mean, we could also use old business too. I mean, it doesn't truly matter, but I mean, I don't think it's something we'd be taking action on today, so I think we could probably use whole business.
Okay.
Do we have any guests? I don't know. I mean, if I'm just saying that if someone's here for public participation, we probably don't want to make them wait. If there's not anybody here, then I guess we
Okay.
can do
Well,
whatever we feel like.
currently there isn't anybody, but how's that sound, Ms. Underwood? Just put it in public. or
Yes,
put it in business.
I can, yes, old business sounds fine.
Okay.
That's where I wrote it, actually. That's what I should have said.
All right, thank you. All right, motion for Ms. Underwood, second for Ms. Anderson to amend tonight's agenda to add an executive session in old business. Please call the roll.
Ms. Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes,
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yeah.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Hartman,
Yes.
and Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb,
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the agenda as amended. And I'm sorry I didn't do that sooner. I just went through a little cloud. Sorry.
the clouds are behind you on your screen there. That's the there's vista views you have there. All right, motion for Ms. Zorb to adopt the agenda as amended.
We need
Mr.
a second.
President, I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. Please call the roll.
Ms. Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
yes,
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Hartman,
Yes.
and Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Motion to adopt passes 6-0.
Thank you, ma'am. You now have the minutes from our previous council meeting on October 19th.
President, I'll make a motion to adopt the minutes.
Mr. President,
Ms. Dewald,
I just want to let council know that the first copy they received of this has Merrill Avenue spelled wrong, and since then I've corrected it. So I hope we don't go into amending it because it's already noted and corrected.
okay. Ms. Zorb,
Thank-
were you making a motion
Yes.
to adopt? Okay, motion by Ms. Zorb to adopt the minutes,
Mr. President, I'll second that motion.
second by Ms. Anderson. Any discussion? Ms. Dewald, please call the roll.
Ms. Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
yes,
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Hartman,
Yes.
and Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Motion to adopt passes 6-0.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Dewald, communications for the evening.
Tonight's communications, we have the October Mayor's Court Report has been sent by email just this afternoon. And then we have we only get one and only copy of the September, October Cities and Villages.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions for the clerk?
Mr. President, I have a quick one.
Ms. Zorb?
Ms. Dewald, where will that copy of the city?
I can leave it in my mailbox, but generally it just goes right into the big binder that I lug around if and when I get to a meeting in that building.
Okay,
Where would you like it to be?
your mailbox is fine.
I'll put it in the mailbox.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions? All right, Ms. Dewalt, thank you.
Mhm.
That will move us into committee reports. First up is Budget and Finance. I see Ms. Bailey. I know Ms. Bailey's not here. Does anyone else have a report?
Let's see, that would be.
I can't even remember if it was made official or not, but I might be the vice chair.
Yes.
I'm not sure.
Ms.
You
Dewalt
are.
says it's official.
And I have to admit that I did not prepare to give a report, but I believe, did we give up our time to? We
Yes.
gave up our time for the committee of the whole. So see, I got off the hook.
We gave up our time
So-
next week.
But,
Oh.
yeah, Mr. President,
Ms. Dewalt.
Budget and Finance won't meet until,
See, that's even better. We have not met since the last council meeting, and we're giving up our next time slot for the committee of the whole. How's that? Thanks,
So you
everyone,
won't
for-
meet again until December.
correct.
On the 14th, I'm getting. All right, thank you, Ms. Zorb. Next is City and Community Development and Recreation.
So,
Mr. President,
Yes, Ms. Underwood.
same thing. We haven't met and we will not meet again until December. And I'm not the vice chair, but I am on the committee. It's just Ms. Bailey, I think, is the vice chair and there is no chair currently. Hint, hint.
and Mr. President, may I,
Yes, Ms. Dewalt.
just to keep that into perspective and clarification, Ms. Bailey did stipulate that she is the interim vice chair.
Yes, I do
So-
recall that.
Just to let everybody, I'm kind of tagging on to Ms. Underwood's hint, hint.
Okay, so next is Public Safety.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. So we did meet on Monday, October 26th at 7:30 p.m. Present were myself, Ms. Hartman, Ms. Zorb, and Mr. Miller Novak. We talked briefly about the fire department. There was a discussion that there was in fact a fire on Sterling in the last month or so. Ms. Zorb knew that there was more than one jurisdiction that responded to the fire, but we didn't know. We didn't have any more information about the fire. And admittedly, I didn't talk to Chief Fells about that. He's very good with information about that. But I did have a reason why I didn't want to bother Chief Fells, so that's why I hadn't talked to him. No one knew the status of the contract negotiations for the part-time firefighters, so we thought that we would ask for just a status update from Mr. Mosby during this meeting this evening. Ms. Zorb also mentioned that if you go to the NCH website and click on services and then fire department, you can see the most recent emergencies that the fire department responds to. We all thought that was really interesting on the North College Hill website. I have no information from the police department at this time. We did spend a good deal of time talking about the speed hump proposal. There was quite a bit of discussion. What we came up with was that we were going to kind of determine what streets should not be included, and that we were just going to do like a deeper dive into the speed hump proposal at our next public safety committee meeting. And that's kind of all we would talk about. Then next on our agenda was the mayor's task force update. There was a meeting scheduled for later that week, but I'll let the mayor talk about that. I think she's going to talk about that at this evening's council meeting. And then with regard to the police task force, the suggestion was that we meet after the election. Just thought that there was just, the election is just so polarizing. We just thought it was a good idea just to meet after the election. So we're going to do that. Old business, with regard to the document formats, there was some discussion with regard to how we could save our documents. We all think that Google Docs is just a really bad idea. So just we were going to do some research with regard to different cloud drives that we could use to save our documents in addition to the file cabinet. Status reports, we're going to kind of brainstorm what we would want, what information we would want to receive from each of the departments in a status report. Mayor Nichols, who did attend our meeting, just asked us to be very specific about what kinds of information we would like from each of the departments. And she did indicate that there shouldn't be a problem with us getting status reports from the different departments. So we are going to follow up with her on that. Under new business, we did briefly discuss resolution 17-2020 and then referred it right back out of this committee. Mayor Nichols did indicate to us that she would get more information about why this is a renewal and not a new levy. Ms. Zorb suggested that we probably need a tickle system to let us know when our levies are expiring. But Ms. Hall actually has already created a database to that includes that information. So we shouldn't have that as an issue. We also discussed in new business, just some ways, we brainstormed some ways to deal with just the litter and the amount of litter that we've noticed, like even after the cleanup day, like, littering signs, garbage cans and other kind of creative things that we could do. And that meeting was adjourned at 8:22 p.m. Probably take too many notes.
Thank you, Ms. Underwood. Any questions for the Public Safety Committee?
Good night, Mr. President. May I just point out that I just brought up that city's website and so we had a report of a fire in Coleraine Township 23 hours ago, another fire in Coleraine Township 11 hours ago, a sick person about 4 hours ago, and a high fever at Wellington at North Bend Crossing, which is, I think, way out by St. Ives. So only one out of those 4 runs were in North College Hill. Just a little
Interesting.
tidbit.
Thank you.
Okay. You're welcome.
All right, that'll bring us to rules and public policy.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President. We did meet on Monday, October 26th at 7:30 p.m., I think. Is that right? Yeah,
6:30.
I might have the wrong time on that. I think we met at 6:30 p.m., not 7:30. So I'll have to, I'll make that adjustment. Present were Matt Miller-Novak, Ms. Zorb, myself, and Ms. Hartman. We did have 2 guests at our meeting. One was Bill Knight, who is with Building and Zoning Enforcement, and the other was Roger Neff, who is with Code Enforcement. Mr. Knight discussed some potential changes to the code enforcement ordinances that may be helpful for them to do their jobs. Mr. Miller-Novak, there was a discussion about how the changes that we have made, how they've worked out, and if there's anything else that we need to do to address any issues. Mr. Knight advised the committee that he and Mr. Neff communicate quite a bit. And he did mention that there were several issues that they had addressed and that he would follow up with us to see if there was, if there was anything else that we needed to update with regard to our ordinances. Mr. Miller-Novak mentioned that there have been fewer complaints about property maintenance. And Mr. Knight discussed how they've taken over the rental property registration list from the police department and how they've really made an effort to make a list of all of the rental properties in North College Hill to make sure that the owners register for those properties. Mr. Knight also advised the committee that they were raising the fees for cutting the grass. Overall, the fees for cutting is down. So Mr. Knight believes that it is because they have raised the fees that people make more of an effort to cut their grass. So that is a good thing. Mr. Neff also was at that meeting. He just told us that he works 3 7-hour shifts every week, those are the only shifts that he can work to stay within the budget. He says that he would just like to have one day that he can focus on proactive property maintenance issues. Right now, he feels as though most of what he does is just kind of reactive. There was, Ms. Zorb did ask Mr. Neff to kind of describe his process of, how he does his job. And he advises the committee that most of what he does is respond to addresses by quadrant, and he addresses specific complaints. He's focusing on alleyways. Mr. Miller Novak thanked Mr. Knight and Mr. Neff for attending the committee meeting and advised both to reach out if they felt that any ordinances needed to be updated. There was legislation on the agenda. I did not write down the number. I apologize. That was referred to this committee. We all agreed that it looks pretty standard. I believe it was tax legislation, and so we sent it back to the council agenda. We talked about a potential onboarding process, and we thought that we could get information from Ms. Anderson to determine what information would be helpful for new council members, so that we can provide those kinds of packets or binders to new council members. There was some discussion about that, and I believe that Ms. Zorb and I will figure out how to make sure that our newest council member has everything that she needs. We also briefly discussed the committee chair for the Rules and Public Policy Committee. I indicated that I was interested in being the chair. No one else was interested. Mr. Miller Novak had no objection. Our meeting was adjourned at 7:21 p.m.
Thank you. And that legislation should be resolution 18/2020. 18-2020.
18/2020. Thank you very much.
That should have been the one you looked at in that meeting. All right. Any questions for Rules and Public Policy? Ms. Dewald.
So, obviously, I guess I can't write and listen at the same time. And so I didn't drift off. I was busy. So the last statement you made about, did you say you're now the chair, or you acted as the chair that night?
Neither. I'm just interested in becoming the chair.
You're interested. Okay. That's not even noteworthy, but thank you.
You'll see it when we get to new business. How's that?
All righty. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Underwood. We'll move on to ad hoc reports.
Give me one moment, please. Miss Underwood doesn't always get
Mr. President,
did you get the senior center one?
I did not. I
Okay.
didn't.
Okay.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
Ms. Dewald, I can send you copies of my minutes if it would help you. I
I will
apologize.
send
I
you
know that
hearts and
there's a lot.
Valentines.
Yeah, there is a lot there. So it just occurred to me like I should send you a copy. So I will do that.
That would be lovely. Thank you. And in that regard, I will give you a senior center update if that's okay. Oh my. No, I'm going to forward this email on to you because it's really lengthy and I don't have time to read it. How's that, Miss Underwood? Okay, thanks.
All right. Do we have any ad hoc reports? All right. Hearing none, we will move on. All right, so we'll go to the administrative reports. The mayor has not been able to join us yet, so we're going to skip her turn for now and start with the city administrator, and we'll go to Ms. Nichols when she does join us. Mr. Mosby.
Thank you, Mr. President. I guess I would first like to begin by saying welcome to Ms. Blythe, and I had the privilege of meeting her actually about a year ago when we did our cleanup last year, And so I know of her interest, and I felt really good about just having a discussion with her at the time. And so I'm really glad to see that she decided to jump into the civic pool. And I'm really hoping for wonderful things, and certainly do want to make myself available. Some people were asking about process. I heard them say that, so I have talked to her. She already has her email. She'll receive her key tomorrow, and a few other personnel matters that we're at least taking care of on this side. So once again, I would like to say welcome to her. This past Saturday was, of course, a mixed day. I wanted to begin with that because sadly, we had the funeral procession for Corporal McMillan come through North College Hill, but I was very glad to see several people who were out there to pay their final respects. The mayor was out there. I know I was out there. It was a long procession, and it probably took about 10 minutes to go through the city. But on a brighter note, we ended the day with a trunk or treat celebration that surprised us greatly. I think there were more people than we had expected. The mayor had put together several bags of candy, and I think within the first 30, it was over 100, and they were all gone within the first 30 minutes. So we had to make a raid on Rose's to buy additional candy to give away. But it was really, but it was a very nice time. I really want to thank all of our departments, the police department and the fire department, for showing up. And in fact, the police department did a great job with the balloons. They made a bunch of balloon animals for the children, and so it was a very memorable time. So next on your calendar of events, I would hope that everybody would put, because what we're going to do, I've talked to Mickey at Perkins, and we're going to use his existing fir tree to do a Christmas tree lighting this year. And that will be held on Saturday, November the 28th. Saturday, November the 28th, which is 2 days after Thanksgiving. And we will light the tree at sunset. I've been working already with not only the CIC, but also the Chamber of Commerce. And so they're going to help to pitch in and to get the needed decorations. So it should be a very fun time. Tonight, well, there were a few things tonight, and this is probably the most important. There is a piece of legislation that is on the agenda accepting the amounts and rates. I know I did send an email to everyone, but as I had mentioned, although we had submitted to the county in a timely manner the proposed tax budget, I neglected to put on our finance calendar the formal legislation accepting the amounts and rates. So we did receive a call from the auditor's office, and I did tell them that, of course, I was going to do my best to make sure that we can get it on the agenda and get it passed. It is an administrative formality. However, I do know that tonight you are missing one person, so it would require a suspension of the readings, which would need to be passed by all 6 members of council. And it would be necessary for us to do that so that the county would be able to forward their documentation to the state. So if there are any questions later, certainly you can ask, but this is basically just a formal procedure. I don't really know that there would be any questions. We've already, again, submitted our proposed document, and they sent back what they project that we will receive. So we just have to formally accept it and send it back to them. I know that there was talk about, I wanted to also mention that we will be beginning work on on Galbraith and Goodman Road. And I do bring this up once again as well. That'll be November the 9th, but I wanted to bring that up to show how our road tax dollars are working for us. And I say this for everyone who is listening because I think this is very important. You know, our local tax dollars are probably the most important tax dollars. If if we send our money to the federal government or even to the state, we don't know where that money is going. But when we pay our local income taxes, when we pay our local tax withholding or our local levy taxes, they go directly to our city. And so the road work that will begin on Galbraith Road on November the 9th is an example of why the road levy that we have is important. And I think there was a question, I believe Ms. Underwood had stated it earlier, and she was asking about whether or not it was a renewal. I believe I forwarded information to everyone. I believe it was last week. However, it is a renewal. And the reason why it's a renewal is because even though 2020 is the last year in which the levy is imposed, it is collected and dispersed in 2021. So as long as the legislation passes in 2021, it is indeed a renewal because it will continue without interruption. Mr. President, I believe without trying to go on too much longer, I will conclude it for that. I do know that the mayor will be coming on shortly. If she's not on now, she should be coming on shortly. And I know that she does have a report. So I would simply ask if she's not, that we just continue on until she arrives, and then you can adjust
She's here.
the agenda. Okay.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mosby. Any questions for the city administrator?
Mr. President, I have one.
Ms. Zorb?
So, Mr. Mosby, it was my question that I don't fully understand how a levy that expires in December and it's not voted on again until May is considered a renewal. And I understand your explanation, but please forgive me, but I would like to hear that from the auditors, so officially from somebody at the auditor's office. If you could perhaps relay that to them, that I'd like an explanation from them, I would really appreciate it.
Forgive me, correct me if I'm wrong. I thought that I forwarded an email chain to everyone last week. Did no one receive it? I'm assuming you did not, because I don't hear anything. Okay, I will send it again. I'll send it to the email list, and it does have the explanation.
I received it. I
6
can
days ago.
forward it to you.
6 days ago.
Okay, so you did receive it. Thank you. I just wanted to confirm.
October 27th at 8:34 a.m.
Thank you.
I apologize, Mr. Mosby. I didn't read far enough down in the chain. My bad.
No problem.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Mosby? All right. Thank you, sir. So Ms. Nichols has joined us, so we will turn the time over to the mayor.
Good evening. Thank you, and I apologize for my tardiness, but I had just a couple of things. The trunk or treat was Saturday, and the kiddies, including myself, had a wonderful time. We had lots and lots of kiddies who received lots and lots of treats, so it was well worth it. I just heard Mr. Mosby talk about the Christmas tree lighting, so I won't go into that, but what I really wanted to discuss this evening was, as you all know, several months ago, we had developed a fire task force, and the purpose of the task force, they were to come together. Well, first of all, it was compiled of 2 citizens. There were firefighters. Mr. Graver was the overseer, and the chief was there as well. And we had a council member, Miss Erica Underwood. So they were to look over the funding, the spending of the fire department and come to a conclusion or a necessity to see what was needed in order to maintain and to keep our sustainable fire department. So after several months of meeting, we did meet last Wednesday, and they shared with me their findings, what they came up with. I do believe a couple of times Ms. Hall met with them and she gave reports. So they took a lot of things into consideration, even with the surrounding districts, the mutual aid, what we needed in order to move forward and continue to move forward. So I'm sorry, in their findings, they came to the conclusion. I know we have the 3.2 mil levy right now, and it was a unanimous decision, I believe. Maybe we had some that were on the higher end. Correct me if I'm wrong, where the lower end was 2 and higher up to, I believe, was it 15 mils? So
Oh.
they came The highest back. was 17. Madam 17. Mayor, I apologize. Oh, no, no, I just couldn't remember. For some reason, I had 15. So I'll read the recommendations that was given and what it would entail. And these are some of the notes from Chief Fell. And he says the fire task force examined a number of options to accomplish these goals, unanimously setting on a 12 mil 5-year replacement fire levy, generating approximately $1,330,000 annually. With this level of funding, he gave a list of the things that could be accomplished. It would increase daily staffing from 4 to 5 people per day. That would be 3 full-time and 2 part-time. It would increase the number of full-time firefighters from 3 to 9. It would provide the capital funding necessary to address replacement of the 1994 fire engine. It would also help with building repairs and other smaller capital needs that we may need in the fire department. It also offers employee compensation for full-time and part-time, and it would put $100,000 annually back into the general fund, the city's general fund. And after speaking with them, after they gave me their recommendations, after looking at everything and talking with them, after they gave the recommendation, I decided that if this is what they're recommending to keep our fire force sustainable, that I would accept their findings and that I would present it to council. We plan to continue to meet so that we can make sure that our citizens are well informed of this. And the idea is to get it on the ballot for November if council agrees and passes it. There's also a piece of legislation that goes with it. I'm sorry, Mr. Mosby, did you share that piece of legislation with council? I can send it to Mr. Graver, and Mr. Graver, you can put it in committee so that we can try to move forward with this. But I do think that this is the best recommendation. We know that the 3.2, and I've had several conversations with Chief Fells, the 3.2 is not sustainable for us. We actually probably do need a higher millage, but the 12 mil would help us tremendously. Chief Fells also did inform us that at this particular point with our mutual aid is almost to the point where if we can't bring something to the table, our mutual aid is not as willing to help us. So that's what I took away from his statement. Ms. Underwood, if you could if you had anything else to add to that, and correct me if I'm wrong, if that wasn't his sentiment. I think, Mayor Nichols, the only thing that I would add is that the other fire levy is actually going to expire. So this would replace the fire levy that we currently have. And I would also like to say that I have worked with Chief Fells very closely for the last 11 months since I've been on council. And he works very hard. He seeks out grants for the fire department. So he actually writes grants, and he has received several grants. He does exactly what he says he's going to do. He does exactly what he says he's going to do with his budget. Anytime you ask him for information, he gives you flow charts and pivot tables and everything else. So what I will say to anyone who has any questions about the fire department, if you just, if you want to just take an hour or two out of your day, because that's how long it will take to understand what he's saying, to go talk to Chief Fells, he will in great detail explain to you exactly what the fire department is doing, exactly where they spend their money. The man just does a wonderful, wonderful job. I think that we are very fortunate to have him as our chief here in North College Hill. So.
And I would also like to add the piece of legislation that was sent over to us from our law office puts the dollar amounts in there. So I'm not sure. I have it. I'm not sure. Mr. Mosby, did you forward those to council as well?
No, I did not forward those to council
Okay.
as of yet. I can do that.
Can you forward it
I
to,
can.
Mr. Graver, and he
I believe
to council?
I believe
Mr.
Mr.
Graver,
Graver
you
does
already
have.
have it, correct?
Yeah, I do see it now.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, may I just add one thing to your report and recommendation?
Yes, please.
What I wanted to point out is that when we look at our current situation, meaning that we are currently at 3.2 mils, if we look at the community surrounding us, with the exception of the city of Cincinnati, which of course is directly to the south of us, Colerain Township currently has 12.5 mils, and actually they have 3 additional mills on the ballot for this month, which would, if it passes, would raise them to 15.5 mils. Springfield Township already has 8.5 mils. They are adding they are proposing 2.5 mils, which means that if that passes, they would be at 11 mils. And then Mount Healthy has, they voted, of course, in August to add 12.5 mils to their already existing 5. So they have 17.5 mils. If we were to place on the ballot a 12 mil levy and it passes, as Ms. Underwood said, yes, it would basically replace what we already have existing, which is so it would not be in addition to the 3.2 that we currently have. In essence, what we would be doing is increasing it by 8.8. However, I do think it's important for everyone to understand that around us, the communities are seeing the necessity of adding sufficient funding to fund their fire departments. And so as of right now, as Mayor Nichols said, without that, the best we can do is the part-time, basically the part-time model. We do have one full-time firefighter on duty now. The 3.2 allowed us to have at least one a day every 3 days. But the rest of our force is augmented with part-time personnel, which is really not going to be sustainable. And one of the reasons is basically, as it says in the report, 75% of our part-time firefighters are full-time firefighters in other municipalities.
Mr. President.
Ms. Zorb?
So I have a question for the mayor. I'm curious to know if there are any other options, or this is the only option that they have presented. And the reason I ask that is because, as we all know, just last year, there was a 13 mil on the ballot, and North College Hill voted it down resoundingly. And as was already pointed out, 12 isn't a whole lot further away from 13. So I would speculate that there is a chance that this could get voted down. And as was already pointed out, if it does get voted down, this is not in addition to, there would be no fire levy on the ballot, and therefore no supplemental money. So I'm just wondering if, this sounds like I don't know, sounds like you're swinging for the fences, but if you
Mr.
miss,
President,
Let me, but before you respond, Ms. Underwood, if I may, this is what was presented to me. Ms. Underwood could tell you more if there were other things that they discussed. I actually try to stay out of their meetings. I do, from a lot of the information and a lot of the talk that I have received and from talking to people, is that a lot of people were either misinformed or they didn't know about the last levy. I hear a lot of people say that they didn't know all the details of it. They didn't know if that there were any town halls. So we just have to hope for the best with this. And again, Ms. Underwood could tell you more if they had other ideas. This is just what they presented to me. And I did ask, was this the only option, is this? And I was told, yes, this is what they felt was best.
Mr. President.
Ms. Underwood?
So Ms. Zorb, we did in fact talk about that other levy. And I believe that kind of one of the major issues with the other levy that we determined, just from kind of, talking amongst ourselves as well as talking to other people, was that it was a joint district fire levy. And a lot of people really believe that, we were because we already have like more services than than Mount Healthy had at the time, and that somehow we were going, somehow they were getting more out of that deal than we were. So I believe that there was that, and then in addition to that, there was just really not a lot of people who understood what it was about. And I was one of those people. I always vote, but I didn't get any of the literature or anything up or down about it. So when I went to vote about it, I just read what was on the ballot. I didn't like the way it sounded, so I voted against it. Of course, hindsight, if I had known what it was about, I may not have done that, but I didn't know anything about it. So what the task force has decided to do is continue to have meetings and to actually have a campaign, which will include, public meetings as well as literature, to make sure that the citizens of North College Hill understand, number one, how important this fire levy is to our community, and number two, what exactly it'll cost and what it entails. But the fact of the matter is that we are required by law to provide a fire department. And, if we don't do something, we won't be able to do that. Like what we have right now is just simply not sustainable. We have, just some issues that we have to resolve, one of which was, there's been twice now where we had to have a police officer actually get onto, a fire apparatus or into an ambulance to make sure we could get someone who was injured to the hospital. So, that's, just a major issue for us. And it's just one that we need to resolve, especially with an aging population, as well as, all of the children, just the things that just happen with regard to all of the emergencies that they respond to. We really felt that this was, necessary for us to maintain that level of service for our citizens.
Mr. President.
Mr. Miller Novak.
So if it's 12 and it's going to replace the 3, so in a sense, it's only about like a 9 mil increase, right?
That is correct.
That's correct.
Mr.
So
Milano.
8.8.
8.8, right.
Yeah, I mean, I understand where Mary Jo is coming from. I mean, I was thinking that at the same time. I mean, it is a bit of a gamble. I mean, God help us if it loses. I mean, if we do it this way. And I think that, with the last one, I mean, people are divided enough about a levy. If the government that puts it on the ballot is not on the same page, it's going to be doomed. So, I mean, I think we might want to decide as a council whether or not we're all going to stick behind it, because I think we all agree whether or not we're all crazy about what this levy might be. But if it doesn't pass, that I'm trying to put this professionally, kind of screwed. So we probably really need to all be on the same page and really support this, or not do it.
So as a point of clarification, the current levy expires in 2021 with collections wrapping up in 2022. 5 mil levy that started in 2017. Madam Mayor, did you have anything else to report?
I do not, thank you.
Any other questions for the mayor? All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda, Law Director's Report. I do not see Mr. Dieters present tonight, so we will move on to the Finance Director. Ms. Hall, you should be able to speak.
Okay. So I did want to make a few comments before I get into a really brief report. So for 2021, I just want to remind everyone that the real estate tax estimates are coming in lower than 2020. That means police and fire will not have enough revenue to support staff and expenses. So it is really important that we kind of get everyone behind the fire levy, because we're already going to see a shortage of some sort for our public safety teams in 2021. I think Mary Jo made the statement about if the fire levy fails, we do have the option to go back in 2022, because we do collect these revenues in arrears. So we will have 2022's revenues. But to go back in 2022, you have to remember that we also had the police levy that expires that year as well. So that's definitely something we don't want to do, is having both of those in the same election year, but just to keep that in mind. I did want to bring to everyone's attention that our income tax revenue is still very uncertain. For October, we saw a 15.67% drop. We were not expecting that. We were expecting, since we typically will see quarterly payments coming in around that time, that we would see a boost in revenue. But I just want everyone to just to keep that in mind, that income tax is literally 70% of our general fund. I think it's about 75%. All of our public safety services come from our income tax revenue, and a portion of our other city services come from that income tax revenue. So if that revenue is negatively impacted, then so are a lot of our other services. We can't provide the services that we need to keep the city going. I am expecting us to still meet our budget of 2.55 million. There may be a very modest overage, but it's going to be very close to budget for 2020. And just be advised as well that there's still a lot of uncertainty for 2021. We have had CARES funds to help offset the additional expenses that were related to COVID-19 for 2020, but there is no guarantee that we will have that same access to revenue or assistance in 2021. I'm keeping a close watch on the trends just to make sure that, we are budgeting conservatively for 2021. And I am also still working with department heads to make sure that we're accounting for all of our COVID expenses. And that's all I have today.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions for Ms. Hall? All right. Next, that will bring up call of members on the agenda. Ms. Bailey is not with us tonight. She would normally go first. She did ask that I express her regards to Ms. Blythe on her first night here with the council. And then that would bring us to Ms. Blythe.
I don't have any comments right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I feel like I kind of put her on the
Ms. Underwood?
Thank you, Mr. President. I would first like to say welcome to Ms. Blythe to North College Hill City Council. Thank you so much for agreeing to serve. And this is definitely a labor of love. And you're going to have a few moments, but it's okay. Just have a cup of coffee or whatever your poison is, and just it'll get better. Also, I would like to say I'm really sorry I missed the cleanup day for North College Hill, but I heard good things about that. I also heard a lot of good things about trunk or treat. So I would like to thank the city administration for providing that for all the kids, just kind of a safe way for them to kind of enjoy Halloween, and hopefully sometime soon we can get back to normal. I don't know when, but maybe, 2020 is a bust, I think, but maybe we'll shoot for 2021, 2022. And that is all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Underwood. Mr. Miller Novak, you're up.
Yes, welcome to Ms. Blythe, and I don't know if anybody knew this, but it's election day tomorrow. And I heard some people think that's pretty important. So if you're one of those, remember to get out and vote if you have not already done so through mail or drop off yet. And just hoping for a safe, pleasant election, at least in North College Hill. I'm sure it won't be smooth in the rest of the world, but yeah, no, welcome, Ms. Blythe, and it's nice to have you on board. And some of the meetings are a little bit more uplifting than this one. This is kind of a little bit of a downer, and thanks to the task force regarding the fire levy and doing all that work, and look forward to seeing it and discussing it over the coming months.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Zorb?
I'm going to sound like an echo chamber. So again, welcome, Ms. Blythe. Thank you for stepping up. I sincerely appreciate that. As far as the cleanup, I did work cleanup day, and I got to tell you, we found a lot of trash on the little block of Goodman. So I'm kind of wondering if perhaps, I know we already met with code enforcement guys, but I'm hopeful that perhaps the city administrator and mayor can kind of nudge the code enforcement guys to get more on the businesses, because that's I mean, it's all businesses, and I'm telling you, we picked up a lot of trash. That was old trash, like it was already degrading. It was quite disgusting. Anyhow, I also was able to line the streets for the funeral procession for the sheriff. And it was quite somber. Anyhow, that it was sad to say that. And I'll just leave it there for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Zorb. Ms. Hartman?
Welcome, Ms. Blythe, and don't forget to vote if you haven't. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. Hartman. And Ms. Anderson?
Well, welcome, Miss Blythe. Thanks for making me not the new person anymore. It's pretty nice. I haven't met you yet, but my mom said that she's met you, and my mom's pretty great. So if my mom likes you, then I like you. I wasn't able to make the cleanup day, but I saw pictures and I heard it was awesome. So I'm glad that everybody went. I did go to the trunk or treat though, and I saw Mayor Nichols and Mr. Mosby, and we had a great time. And my mom had to run to Rose's 2 times to get 3 extra bags of candy because there were so many kids. So that was an awesome feeling. And yeah, like Mr. Miller Novak said, thanks to the fire task force for figuring all that out. That's really important stuff. So I'm glad that we're starting to work on it. And yeah, don't forget to vote tomorrow.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson. I do have a question. Are you on your mom's payroll for all the promotion?
No, she's just really cool. I want everybody to know about her, you know? She doesn't even know that I give her these shout outs. I have to tell her.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. That'll move us to legislation.
All righty. We have a first reading for Resolution 18-2020, a resolution requesting the county auditor to make advance payment of taxes.
Mr. President,
Mr. Mosby.
this is the legislation that I was referring to in my report. This is the legislation which follows the submission of the tax budget that we submitted back in July. The county came back, gave us the amounts and rates. And so we have to formally accept it and then send it back to them. And so the reason it's an emergency is so that it can go into effect immediately, that Ms. Hall would be able to send that back to them tomorrow. Obviously, in order to do that, it would need a suspension of the readings tonight by all 6 members of council.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I would like to move that we suspend second and third reading for Resolution 18-2020.
Mr. President,
Mr. Miller Novak.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to suspend second and third readings for Resolution 18-2020. The motion is by Ms. Underwood. The second is by Mr. Miller Novak. Discussion. Ms. Dewall, please call the roll.
Miss Blythe,
Yes.
Miss Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Miss Zorb,
Yes.
Miss Hartman,
Yes.
Miss Anderson.
Yes.
Mr. President, motion to suspend second and third reading passes by a vote of 6-0.
Thank you.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I move that we adopt Resolution 18-2020.
Mr. President,
Mr. Miller Novak.
a second.
All right, motion by Ms. Underwood to adopt resolution 18-2020 with a second by Mr. Miller Novak. Discussion. Ms. Dewald, please call the roll.
Ms. Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Ms. Zorb,
Did you not hear me? I said yes.
yeah, there's a lot of background noise. I don't know what that is.
Sorry.
So
I
it's a
saw a
yes.
bunch of heads pop up, so I thought they must not have heard.
Yeah, like, what? Ms. Hartman,
Yes.
Ms. Anderson,
Yes.
motion to adopt resolution 18-2020 passes with a vote of 6-0.
Thank you.
And then we have a first reading on resolution 19, a resolution accepting the amounts and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and, oops, there's a typo, certifying them to the county auditor and declaring an emergency. We have a second reading on resolution 17, declaring it necessary. I'm not sure if they want to look at this title, but it says declaring it necessary to levy a tax. Oh, wait, I get it now. In excess of the 10 mil limitation and requesting the county auditor to certify to matters in connection therewith and declaring an emergency. Second reading. We have a third reading on ordinance 6, an ordinance to establish salaries and staffing levels for city employees pursuant to the requirements of section 3.06 of the city of North College Hill of the North College Hill Charter. Third reading.
President,
Ms. Zorb,
I will make a motion to adopt ordinance 6-2020. Do you want me to read it all? Are you staring?
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I'll second the motion.
All right, motion by Ms. Zorb to adopt ordinance 06-2020 with a second from Ms. Underwood. Discussion. Ms. Dewald, please call the roll.
One moment. Ms. Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Hartman,
Yes.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Motion passes 6-0 to adopt resolution, ordinance 6-2020.
Thank you.
And then we have a third reading on resolution 16-2020, a resolution to certify assessments to the county auditor for placement on the tax duplicate.
President,
Ms. Zorb,
I'd like to make a motion to adopt resolution 16-2020.
Mr. President, I'll second that motion.
all right, motion is made by Ms. Zorb to adopt resolution 16-2020. The second is by Ms. Anderson. Discussion. Ms. Dewald, please call the roll.
Ms. Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Hartman,
Yes.
and Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Motion to adopt resolution 16-2020 passes with a vote of 6-0.
Thank you, Ms. Dewald. All right, next item on the agenda is comments from the audience, and we do not have any audience attendees. So we'll move on to old business.
Mr. President,
Mr. Miller Novak.
unless anybody else has any other old business, I move that we enter executive session.
Actually, Mr. President, I
Do.
do.
Oh. Okay.
I'm sorry.
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood was, oh, Ms. Zorb.
I think I'm gonna say what Ms. Underwood was gonna say.
Well,
Probably.
I'm going to let Ms. Underwood say it.
I was gonna ask about the TV.
Oh, nope,
No, that's not what you're gonna ask.
nope.
I was
go
gonna
ahead.
ask about the status of the TV for council members, council meetings. And the reason I'm asking is because I actually had an opportunity to, I guess we're becoming, people are starting to recognize me from the videos now that Ms. Zorb asked me to keep my video. So I have been asked by several people if there is a way for them to come to council chambers to participate in the meetings via like video or Zoom or whatever it is, because they don't have the ability to do that from home. So I guess my question is what is the status of the purchase of the TV? And then is it possible for for people to come to the city center to participate in our city council meetings? Because I'm told that a lot of people don't have the technology, not because of, just because they just don't have technology.
Mr. President.
Mr. Mosby.
So we have looked into the screen, I guess basically the smart TV. I actually thought that there was a smart screen, which would have been cheaper, but I think I've talked with finance and I've talked here with the assistant administrator. So it looks like we'll be purchasing a TV, but it's going to be about $700, but we will have that ordered so that it can be in. It should be here for the next meeting.
Thank you,
And that
Mr.
will,
Mosby.
You're welcome.
and that will allow us to go to a hybrid model for
What-
council members.
So, but to be clear, Mr. President, I mean, if, because this conversation did come up before, I have been having the council chambers cleaned regularly since September. I think we came back in September to ensure that if someone did want to come in, we would have the equipment available, meaning we could do that now. But the TV would just make for a larger screen. It will have to be mounted, of course, but if someone were interested in attending now, we talked about they could do that. But this will just make it a bit easier for them.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb.
Mr. Mosby, I'm trying not to sound like I'm doubting you, but I feel like a TV could be cheaper. I mean, I get Best Buy emails all the time. I feel like we could get a TV a whole lot cheaper than $700. Is there something in particular that?
Well, my understanding, yes, Ms. Zorb, because my understanding was that I guess there were basically going to be some additions or equipment, some what do you call those cables that would be hookups that would be necessary for ICRC to be able to, basically send the signal so that it would, be able to be seen on the screen. And so the ones that we've looked at based on the dimensions that council had recommended, that's what we were looking at. That's what we had seen.
Okay, do you care if we talk offline about that?
I don't mind, no, not
All
at
right.
all.
And Ms. Zorb, you do still have the requirements that ICRC gave us a few months ago, correct? They
I'm
actually
sure
needed.
I
Okay.
think I have it in an email. If not, I can certainly reach out to them. And
Okay, so this would be to more easily allow us to do the hybrid meetings where we can have some members of council in chambers who want to be there, and then that would allow us to open chambers. I do think we probably need to set a number of people, what the occupancy
Correct.
would be at this time based on spreading out the chairs and, definitely limiting the amount of people that could actually be there.
Yes, Mr. President. And if you've been in council chambers, you've seen that is something that we've done already.
Yes.
So we can indeed limit the number of people that would attend. And we also have, the sanitizing stations. We also have masks available. So we can absolutely do that.
So is that set up for 10 or 12 right now? Is that how many chairs are in there in the audience?
Well, I don't remember the exact number. What I will say is that since you've seen them, they've been spaced apart. There might be 12 there, but that should be sufficient spacing with the proper precautions as well.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Orr.
I'd like to point out that it's not just the audience that needs to be spaced, it's also council. So I would suggest that we would maybe do some type of advanced roll call to say who wants to go in.
So when we
that all of us don't show up, because I don't think we should all.
Right. So the last time we spoke about this, I think myself and Ms. Bailey were the only firm commitments. Ms. Hartman was maybe kind of.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to make sure that
Yes.
we all understood that,
Okay.
that all of
Mr.
council
President.
should not show up.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Ms. Anderson.
Sorry, are you saying firm commitments to be able to be there in person?
Yes, to be in person at council chambers.
Gotcha.
All right. Ms. Zorb, you had old business?
I just took a drink. of
Yes,
my
I
water.
caught you. I caught you.
You did. You're like a waiter. I'd like to make a motion to make Miss Underwood the chair of City and Community Development and Recreation. See, I told you I wouldn't forget.
I don't want to do that.
Are you kidding?
No, I want to do rules and public policy.
That's what I get for thinking that I was smart enough to remember.
I had to interrupt her, so I'm hoping she withdraws that motion.
I will withdraw that motion. I would like to make a motion to, my motion would be to, gosh, now I forgot what it was we were going to say, to make.
You want me to help you?
Yes, please.
Are you making a motion to name Ms. Underwood as the chair of Rules and Public Policy?
You're a mind reader. Thank you. Wow.
All right, so we have a
Mr.
motion on the
President.
floor. Was that you, Mr. Miller Novak?
It is. It's me seconding.
All right, cool. I'm not surprised. Oh, was I not muted? All right, so Ms. Underwood, the motion is to name Ms. Underwood as the chairman of the Rules and Public Policy Committee by Ms. Zorb, second by Mr. Miller Novak. Any discussion? Ms. Dewald, please call the roll.
Okay, we have Miss Blythe.
Yes. Yes, I guess. Yes.
It's yes or you do it. No. Just kidding. Miss Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Miss Zorb,
Yes.
Miss Hartman,
Yes.
and Miss Anderson.
Yes.
Motion to appoint Miss Underwood as Chair of Rules and Public Policy passes 6-0.
Mr.
Right.
President,
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Underwood?
I would like to make a motion to appoint Miss Blythe as a a member of the Public Safety Committee.
Yes, that will be fine.
I'll second that motion.
All right, so we have a motion on the floor to name Ms. Blythe to the Public Safety Committee by Ms. Underwood and a second by Ms. Zorb. Please call the roll.
One moment. Thank you. Okay. Miss Blythe,
Yes.
Miss Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Miss Zorb,
Yes.
That was a yes. I caught that
thank
one.
you. Okay, thank you. Miss Hartman
Yes.
and Miss Anderson.
Yes.
Motion to name Miss Blythe a member of the Public Safety Committee passes 6-0.
And just so you all know, I did talk to her about that in advance. I didn't just kind of,
I wouldn't have thought otherwise.
Mr. President,
Mr. Mosby.
so I wanted to say too that I did want to thank council for the legislation being passed that we can send back to the Hamilton County Auditor's Office. But I also wanted to thank Ms. Underwood for, I think, in the first time I've experienced a November surprise. They're usually October surprises. That was a November surprise.
All right, any other old business?
Mr. President,
Mr. Miller Novak.
I'm afraid to try to motion to do this again, but is anybody gonna stop me before I finish it? No?
I
Okay.
think we're good to go now.
Okay, well then, I would like to motion to enter executive session under RC 121.22 G1 to discuss compensation and employment of a public employee.
Mr. President, well,
I got Ms. Zorb.
okay.
Ms. Zorb's waving it off.
Mr. President, I'll second that motion.
Ms. Underwood, all right. All right, motion to move to executive session by Mr. Miller Novak, second by Ms. Underwood. Please call the roll.
Miss Blythe,
Yes.
Miss Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Miss Zorb,
Yes.
Miss Hartman,
Yes.
Miss Anderson.
Yes.
Motion to move into executive session passes 6-0.
Okay, Ms. Zorb, have you sent that email?
So yes, and I forgot to ask for clarification during Mr. Miller Novak's motion to who to send it to.
Oh, yes, who are we taking into executive session? Thank you.
I
I mean, I don't really care. I mean, are we asking whether or not Ron and Mayor Nichols have been attend? I mean, they can, right? We don't need to put that in the motion. We just could invite them in.
Right,
Mr. President,
Ms. Underwood.
I would also like to invite Ms. Hall.
Okay. So council, Mr. Mosby, Ms. Nichols, and Ms. Hall.
Okay. And then, so we're ready to leave now and then just hop back in.
I'm not leaving until I see the email.
I see it.
already.
If you have it, then you can leave this meeting and go to the next one.
Mr. Graver, while I'm sending the email, can you explain to Ms. Blythe the process?
All right, so Ms. Blythe, you will leave this meeting. You will click on the link to the new email that you should have just received from Ms. Zorb, and we will go into that meeting. And then once we are finished with that meeting, we come back to this meeting. if that's not the least bit confusing.
So I should not close this meeting currently.
You have to leave this meeting.
Okay, okay,
But the
okay.
meeting is going to stay open, and we will be able to go back to the link that you clicked on to get to this meeting in the first place.
I don't have the link.
It's on its way.
Yeah, I've refreshed a couple times. I haven't seen it yet.
So, Mr. President,
Ms. Dewald.
so I just hang out here till you guys come back.
Yes, ma'am.
I don't click on anything.
Nope.
That's easy enough for me.
And once we've all left, I believe Josh just puts up the executive session thing. So, all right, I have the link, so I'm moving on. Ms. Blythe, do you have the link?
Ms. Blythe, the subject line should say something to the effect of NCH executive session.
Yes, I have the link.
Okay, so leave this meeting and do that one. All right, Scott, everyone should be coming back.
Did you have a nice nap?
Go to your room.
Josh, can you give me co-host duties again, please? Thank you. All right, just waiting to make sure everyone makes it back.
I got a notice that said Ron went back to the executive session meeting. He must have put that on.
All right. I see the mayor. There's Mr. Mosby. I have all members of council back.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to resume our council meeting and come out of executive session.
Mr. President, I'll second that motion.
Thank you. All right, motion on the floor to resume council meeting from executive session by Ms. Zorb with a second from Ms. Anderson. Please call the roll. You are muted, Ms. Dewell.
You are muted, Ms. Dewell.
How's that? Is that better?
Yes, ma'am.
All righty. Ms. Blythe,
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yep.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Hartman,
Yes.
Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Motion to resume passes 6-0.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there any new business?
Mr. President, if I may, I'm
Uh,
sorry.
Ms.
This
Nichols?
is like old business, but I'm sorry because I was late. I did not get to welcome Miss Blythe, and I do apologize. So welcome.
Ms. Blythe, I hope you feel like the most welcome person here tonight.
Yes. Thank you very much, everyone.
All right, new business.
Mr. President,
Ms. Zorb.
in the absence of anyone speaking up, I would like to make a motion that we adjourn our meeting at 9:42 p.m.
Really quick before we do this, I'm sorry. It might help to use headphones, Miss Blythe. I think that might take away some of the echo for next week. I don't know if that might help, but just a little suggestion. I know that helps in a lot of my Zoom classes. And also,
What, plug it into the laptop?
yeah.
Oh.
And I'll second.
All right, motion to adjourn by Ms. Zorb, second by Ms. Anderson. Please call the roll.
Ms. Blythe,
Ms. Blythe?
Yes.
Ms. Underwood,
Yes.
Mr. Miller Novak,
Yes.
Ms. Zorb,
Yes.
Ms. Hartman,
Yes.
and Ms. Anderson.
Yes.
Motion to adjourn passes 6-0.
All right, thank you, everyone. This meeting is adjourned.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night, all. Ms. Bly, good job